So it's great to see everybody again. This is one of the places on my list of that I always look forward to coming and visiting and seeing all the same faces. I'll be brief because I want to use as much of this time as possible on the material. Usually when I teach, I have about 3 goals. One is to make everybody in the room a little bit better than they are when they start, measurably better in a way we can test. 2 is to hopefully pass along kind of a bigger picture of how functional martial arts and how jiu-jitsu works so that you guys can go on and take the art even farther and problem solve and come up with new things by understanding how the structure of the art itself works. And 3 is to give you a curriculum. So for example, when I was here a couple years ago, I did the mount. My goal in that class was to try and give you a whole curriculum that you could then play with and work with for the rest of the year. I had the same goals in mind when I started this year, but I realized that some places I would go, I would sacrifice a little bit on the performance of everybody in the room so that I could get through the curriculum. And I don't want to do that here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go at a slower pace. I want to make sure that everybody here really gets the material I'm showing. And we may only get through 15, 20% or whatever of what I want to show. But I think that that will be more productive because if you really understand one part of it, you guys will be able to piece it together in all the other positions, okay? So the curriculum this year is about surviving and escaping, emphasis on surviving, a lot like what Matt was talking about before. If you rush that counter submission, if you rush trying to escape, sometimes it's worse. First you have to survive, you have to settle, build your base, so you have a place of leverage to work from, and then you escape. I do a lot of research and put together my notes and look at other coaches and teachers that I admire and look at their information. And one of the matches that I looked at for this year's curriculum, which I've referenced before, was the Andre Galvao Ryron Gracie match. And there's a lot of really good stuff in there as far as survival. But when I was talking to one of my friends who's a Rickson Gracie black belt a couple years ago, he was telling me that he agreed with my general thesis in that if the match had gone another 15, 20 minutes, perhaps Ryron would have had more of a chance to win because he was wearing him down and doing quite well, given the fact that he's not a competitor at that same level. But what Henry said was, yes, but if Ryron had been using his weight, Ryron wouldn't have been able to do that. He would have been put into a situation where he had to escape because there's so much pressure. And I went back and I looked at that match and I realized he's actually right. And so what I want to do, and what I've been doing the last couple classes, is before we even get into escapes, I want to try and make everybody very heavy. I want you to be as heavy as possible while being efficient so that the person on bottom actually feels the urge to have to escape. They can't just lay there and play dead, even if they want to, because it's going to become difficult for them to breathe, okay? And that's going to be for every single place on top. We'll go piece by piece, and I'm going to slowly just add one detail and then another detail so that you guys can feel it, and then we'll start to work the escape. And also, really, when I teach it that way, I realized it helps people understand the escape a lot better because you will understand, I think, why the escape has to be done the way I'm going to show it. Okay? But to begin with, we're going to start with one hand position today. We're going to start, can I borrow you, Matt? We're going to start with a classic hand position, which everybody should know. When I started jiu-jitsu, this was the only one that they taught. The crossface actually came later. Okay, but this hand on top, this hand blocking out the guard. Everybody familiar with that? All right, so instructions are real simple. I want you to grab somebody close to your weight, same belt level, and if possible, not from the same school, somebody that you don't always work with. I want one person to get in that position. I want you to hold your partner down. Yes, you can go for submissions if they give them to you, but mostly I want you to pin them. If you have to transition a knee right or sit out and face the head or the legs for a few minutes, that's okay, but I want you to focus most of the round in that hand position. If they escape by getting to their hands and knees or putting you in the guard or rolling you, stop, start again, same person on top. Okay, and throughout most of the class, I'm not going to want you to be very competitive. You want to be a good training partner and work with your partner. This round, I want you to be competitive. Okay, because we're going to use this round to measure against at the end of today. So I want you to actually try as hard as you can to keep your partner pinned there, okay? If they wind up being stuck all 5, 10, 30 minutes, whatever number I set, that's fine. Everybody got it? Okay, find that partner, spread out, and go. Start on top. Give me your phone up, okay? So again, try and remember what that felt like if you escaped, how it felt on bottom, the kind of pressure your partner was giving you, whether or not it was hard to breathe, and now let's try and make it better. And good news is, looking around the room, almost none of you are using more than about 20 to 30% of your body weight. So we're going to be able to turn that up threefold here in the next 45 minutes by just adding a few pieces. And at first it's going to feel a little awkward if you're not used to holding this way. But if you stick with it, you'll feel just as comfortable this way as you do right now, okay? And you'll be a lot heavier. So let's work. Can I use you, Matt? First thing, let's just talk about hand position real quick. With my top arm, I generally want my tricep up against Matt's neck, right? And my hand is going to go palm towards me. This goes back to what Glenn was talking about, and we'll talk about it more as we go. But when I'm retracting my arm, I want to go palm up, and when I'm extending it, I go thumb down. So this is going to be here like this, and it's always like a gentle hug this way, connecting myself to his shoulder. That's going to be very important as we go, but it also just makes it very hard for him, if not impossible, to push me towards his legs. When your arm's up here like this, they can just start shoving you down this way and creating space. So this is here, and as he moves, I want to feel that connection to my triceps, so if his head starts to move towards my body, naturally that should follow. Okay, I'm not going to ever let him get space. With my right arm, I want to avoid grabbing. I don't like anything that's gi dependent. I want everything you do to translate well for MMA, gi or no gi or a fight. But also it just creates more space, right? What I want is surface area. So it should be as much of my inner arm up against his hip as possible. And just like with the shoulder, I'm kind of here and I'm hugging it like this and staying tight, okay? My sternum, for now, is just going to go right over his sternum, which is generally where I'm going to land when I pass. So this is my hand position. As he moves a little bit, my hands need to stay in that spot. Okay, I'm never going to give him space. And you'll see I'm not grabbing with my right hand. It's just underneath, right? Just a gentle hug like this. So that's my positioning. Now let's talk about weight, okay? When I'm like this, Matt's not really carrying any of my weight because most of my weight is on my knees. And this is how most of you are holding, okay? So the first rule I'm going to give you, and it's real simple, is I don't want your knees or your butt to touch the mat, okay? When we're holding and I'm keeping all my weight on mat, my knees are going to be off the mat. My legs are going to be slightly bent. Okay, it's going to look actually a lot like the posture Matt worked inside closed guard today. So first thing is, you can kind of feel what my weight feels like here, Matt. And then I'm going to relax. And when I relax, I get just a bit heavier and I get more surface area, right? And everybody real quick, stand up. I've done this before, but this is going to become very important as we go. One person put their hands out like this, and the other person get behind them like they're going to grab them with a body lock. Okay? Grab them, lift them up, walk them forward a foot, set them down. Good. Switch. Other person goes behind. Lift them up. Good. Switch. Get behind your partner and go to lift, but don't lift them yet. Don't lift them yet. And now I want you to relax every muscle in your body. Everything. Relax. Everything. Legs, everything. Completely go gel in front. Now lift them up. Right? Good. Good. Go ahead and lay down, Matt. Good, good, good. So look here. Look here real quick. Look here real quick. When your upper body is tense, you're going to be lighter. Plus you become like a board. Your partner pushes on one part of your body, your whole body moves and lifts up. You want to think of yourself more like a water balloon, right, on top. He pushes in one part, it just kind of melts in there. If he grips around my body, I'm going to relax around his grip. That gives me more surface area, and that immediately makes me heavier. And also, above all else, it's efficient, right? So my goal for jiu-jitsu, for fighting and combat in general, but especially with jiu-jitsu, to be as efficient as possible. And body weight is always efficient. If you're sick, if you're tired, if you're out of shape, you still weigh what you weigh, right? If you're so gassed you couldn't ride around the block on a bike once because you're so tired right now, you're still heavy. So once you learn to use that body weight, there's nothing in jiu-jitsu that's more efficient than that, okay? So again, we're here. Sternum to sternum. I don't want to overshoot it. I don't want to undershoot it. This arm's here, palm up, this arm's here. And now, most of my weight is still on the mat, on on the ground mat, not on mat. So I want to transfer my weight into him. The first thing I'm going to do is bring my knees off the mat here, like this. So once I bring my knees off the mat, where else is my weight? In my elbows. So this is where the hug comes in. The hug's not so much that I'm trying to squeeze him, because if I squeeze kind of hard, then it starts to become inefficient and I'm using energy. I just want to hug enough that my elbows get off the mat. Even if they're off the mat just this much, now he winds up carrying as much of my weight as possible. So I'll have Matt just hum a single note. Right, and you can hear that last piece. So you'll hear the tone of that change when my knees come off the mat, and then when I make that hug, that last hug, all my body weight is going where I want to put it, which is right now it's in his sternum, and then I'm relaxing around it. So hum that note one more time. That's it. Okay, now the trick is you want to be able to hold that way the whole time, moving around him, doing everything else, but it completely changes what it feels like for him to be underneath me for 5 minutes that way, right? So that's the first part. Then we're going to dial that in. We're going to make it heavier. We're going to concentrate on where we're putting our weight to keep them pinned. But first I want you to get that piece. So watch your hands, sternum, knees off the mat, gentle hug, try the note, do it back and forth. If you have any questions, raise your hand. I'll come help you, and then we'll keep moving. Okay, go ahead, back and forth. One person on top. Listen to my voice. Get on top. Is your top arm up against their neck? That tricep should be touching their neck. So you're hugging that shoulder. Now make sure that hand is palm up. Now where's your sternum? Try and adjust your sternum so it's over their sternum. Now where's your right arm, your bottom arm? Don't grab the gi. Try and think about surface area. Touch everywhere around the hip there that you can. Touch your chin to your shoulder and relax your upper body. Melt on top. Okay, now take your knees off the mat. Now hug them enough that your elbows are off the mat. Now very slowly, I just want the person on bottom just to move left and right just a little bit, and I want you to track them. Keep your weight on them. Maintain that connection with your arms. Feel what that feels like. Right, now put your knees back on the mat. Put your elbows on the mat. Now person on bottom, hum a note. Take your knees off the mat. Take your elbows off the mat. Yes. Switch. Listen up. Get on top. Listen. Listen up. Is your tricep up against the neck? Is your right hand, your bottom arm hugging that hip? Chin to your shoulder. Where is your sternum in relationship to theirs? Make sure it's crossed. Relax your upper body. Don't let your upper body get stiff. Take your knees off the mat. Take your elbows off the mat. Follow them a little bit while they move. Have them hum a note. Good. All right, good. We're getting it. Okay, look back here. Bring it back in. Okay, that's simple enough, right? The next piece now, I have to be able to flatten Matt out. So that's going to involve my legs, and that's why I always want you to keep your knees slightly bent. They can't be too close in, and they shouldn't be too far apart, too straight. So I'm just going to have him relax his arms. He's not going to use his arms. You're not trying to shrimp or escape right now. We'll do that in a few minutes. He's just trying to rotate towards me, yep, or away from me, okay? When he rotates towards me, that's kind of easier. I'm going to move my sternum just a little bit this way, and I'm going to drive with my legs, okay? So I'm here, and each time you do this, you want to try and get it perfect. So find that spot. Make sure you got to have a hug here. You're here. You're here. You relax your upper body before you go. I lift it up. He tries to turn towards me. I drive him back flat. He turns towards me. I drive him back flat. When he goes away from me, this one's a little more counterintuitive, but it's very important. I'm going to pull back this way using my hamstrings. So I'm going to pull my butt back towards the mirror to flatten him out. So I'll let him get up this way, go that way, and I'm going to pull. Okay, he starts to turn that way, and I pull. Simple enough, okay? Back and forth, go ahead. Check yourself like you're a pilot going through a checklist. Is your tricep up against the neck? Is your bicep in the hip? Are your hands towards you, palm up? Is your upper body relaxed? Knees off the mat. Chin to your shoulder. Elbows off the mat. Gentle hug. Now I just want the person on bottom to try to turn their body to face you, to try and get on their side and face you. Don't let it happen. Go. Remember to drive with your legs. That's good. All right, switch. Get on top of your partner. Go through that checklist. Is your tricep up against the neck? Is your bicep in the hip? Is your sternum over their sternum? Is your upper body relaxed? Take your knees off the mat. Hug, take your elbows off the mat. Now have them try and get on their side and face you. Drive with your legs to keep them flat. Now I'm going to, let's go back now and work the bottom person's escape. And we're going to use the same principles, but try and get it using our connection to the ground to be able to get on our side and face them. So then we'll take the next step and we'll dial in the top a little bit more, okay? What's your name?
Josh. Josh.
Go ahead and lay down for me. Where's Chris? Coltrane. Yeah. Come here. So I want you to stay relaxed. You're not going to shrimp, but get your shoulder off the mat towards me. Good. Yeah. So lay down flat. Now turn your shoulder towards me. Good. Go back. Now, Matt, I want you to pin his shoulder. Put all your hands here, and then put all your weight into that shoulder like that. Good. Now get the shoulder off the mat. No shrimp. Just get the shoulder off the mat. Good. Difficult, yeah? Okay. So let's learn how to do that, because all of you can get your shoulder off the mat here. Okay, can I switch with you? So we'll have Matt give me the same pressure. Okay, and what I'm going to do this slowly, kind of walk you through what I'm doing. So the first thing I'm going to do, and it's kind of a, put them on my shoulder. Yeah, it's kind of a stupidly simple detail, but it's a beautiful example of how connection works and why it's so important. I'm going to push my shoulder into his hands first, as much as I can. I'm just creating tension here. I'm not trying to lift it off the mat, but I'm pushing it into his hands. Give me a good weight. Good. And then I'm going to make a wave with my body, and I'm going to go through the ground all the way up to get my shoulder off the mat. And then back. Okay? So just stay there for a sec. So I step and then go from the ground into my knee, into my hip, and as my hip lowers, then my shoulder comes up and my butt goes out. Okay? So it's one motion. Make that wave and come through here. So do it in the air first. So step with your foot. This one you can just leave relaxed. Lift your hip up as high as you can. Good, go back. Do it again. Step and lift your hips up. Hips up, come back. Do it one more time. Hips as high as you can get them. Now as your hips go lower, bring your shoulder up and your butt back, all in one motion. Very nice. Now do it one motion. Step and go. Good. Now you have to trust that this is going to work. All right, lay flat. Go ahead and pin his shoulder. Don't think about it. Push your shoulder into his hands as much as you can and then go. Beautiful. One more time. Keep him pinned, Chris. Yes. So everybody here can do this. They're not going to be able to pin you. I could add my weight to Chris. You should still be able to get your shoulder off the mat once you learn how to do this. This is very important. Power shrimp. Okay? Try it back and forth, and if you struggle, I'll come help you. But let me just show you one thing to save you guys some time. Watch this. Come back. Lay down. Pin his shoulder. Chris. Do everything I told you to just do, but I don't want you to push your shoulder into his hands first. Leave that part just the way it is now. Now try it. Okay? So even though you have all that strength, once you're doing it correctly with that chain of motion through your body, there's a lot that gets lost just in the slack that's right here, right? So as soon as you push that shoulder, go back and do the same thing. Push the shoulder into the hands. Same pressure. Now make that wave with your body. Step and go. Yes. then you can do it. And I'd like you to try both, just so you yourself can feel the difference when you take out the slack and when you don't, right? That's what they sometimes, there's nothing mystical about it, but you'll hear them say, well, you can touch but not be connected. That would be an example. Okay, do it back and forth. Raise your hands if you need help.